Good day, and welcome to Conversations with AARP in the Virgin Islands. I'm Troy Deshabere Schuster, State Director of AARP in this territory, and it's a great pleasure to be with you here again this day. We have another special guest with us, and he is from the Office of the Governor, the Americans with Disability Act Coordinator, and that is Mr. Julien Henley. Good day, Julien. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great today, Troy. It was really a pleasure to be here with you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for making the time to be here with us. And so tell us about your role in the Office of the Governor, being an ADA coordinator. What does that entail? What kind of work do you do on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands?
Well, it entails first to make sure that we're in line with the civil law of the ADA, which was signed into law in 1990, that we as a territory is following all the guidelines and making sure that services that all our government agencies provide, that they are not just physically accessible, but also web-like accessible to all persons in the territory.
And before you got involved with the Office of the Governor, actually started working for the Office of the Governor, I know that you were associated with the Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands and also a longtime volunteer of AARP in the Virgin Islands. We greatly appreciate your service to AARP and to the people of the Virgin Islands. But give us some of that background also. Tell us how you got into AARP, Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands, because I'm sure it's an interesting story how that all came together and landed you here in the Office of the Governor.
What was really a great journey was knowing Attorney Jennings for many years, and going to his office and being there as a volunteer and doing different things. We started doing trainings, like sensitivity trainings in the territory. And I would just be, would be just contracted to go out and do trainings with different agencies, depends on the need. And right after the hurricanes, I was there still helping because we wanted to get people registered and have persons, especially persons with disabilities, to have a place that they could congregate and get information. So at that point, they brought me on board as an advocate for the Disability Rights Center. And today I'm still somewhat employed there, not employed financially, but it's such a great source of partnership as far as looking at projects, sharing ideas, co-hosting a show with them on Saturdays. So the list goes on, and that we continue to have a great relationship, knowing that it's all for the best for people with disabilities in the territory.
And then, am I correct in assuming that through the Disability Rights Center and Attorney Archie Jennings, who was also an AARP volunteer, is that how you
Yes.
made the connection?
Yes. Well, I made connection initially from Dave Barber, another name. And then in conversations with Archie, it all came together as something that I wanted to do. I learned about all the things that AARP has been doing in the territory, amazing things. And so it was really right along with what I could see for our territory, for us to be in compliance. Keeping people with whole lives is, to me, it's one of the greatest things that we can do as people. And a lot of times we don't realize the things that we expect for ourselves is just natural to expect everything. And the things that we set aside for persons with disabilities, sometimes we feel like we're doing them a favor or we're giving them a helping hand, whereas we're supposed to be clearing the roads and letting them develop their skill sets and be inclusive just like everyone else.
Excellent, excellent. And again, thank you for your years of service, and in particular, on behalf of AARP, thank you for all that you've done to help us to develop and grow here within the Virgin Islands. You mentioned all the amazing things we've done, but it's because of of people like yourself, our faithful volunteers, working together with us to make all of this happen.
Yes.
And so, looking again at your role in the office of the governor, what is the vision of the administration in relation to your work uh, regarding disabilities and creating a territory that is accessible and inclusive for all residents and visitors? What is your overall vision?
Right. So one of the things that we addressed was taking down barriers, even for guests that would come to the territory. So when you look at every department brings a, a need for change. So when you look at persons coming to the territory and using their disabled placard and parking in a disabled spot was ticketed and $1,000 for parking because they needed to have a temporary permit from the territory. So things like that was removed because when you travel, you don't become undisabled. You're still a person with a disability. Um, so looking at us as a holistic territory and seeing whatever barriers that we might have when you look at BNV, the group of motor vehicle, the placards that they've had in place and application process to get them, all those things have been upgraded to make sure that now they are meeting the criteria. We're working on getting persons who are deaf or hard of hearing who might want to have a driver's license that they will be able to now have training, putting things in place that people could come in and do it virtually or have a way that would be best for them to become independent and live in independent lives in the territory. So we're looking at not just to say you have stairs, so we're going to put a ramp. You have a door opener, or it's an easy open door. Those are basic things. When you look at persons living inclusive lives, is where we want to take the goals of this administration and to bring people to feel like, you know, I don't really need to ask a favor if I want to go to the beach. I can just go to the beach. Oh, I don't need to ask a favor if I want to do this. And to bring to a point where you see when you travel persons in with varieties of disabilities, whether it's a seeing-eye dog or a white cane or other, that they come off of the train, they come off of the bus, and they traverse through town. They go and they have families and they do things. And if we have a person that might be blind working in an office, it would become almost a strange thing to see. And so it's things like that is what we have to open up and realize that everyone, we have seniors who, especially with diabetes being a major challenge for us in the territory, we have a lot of seniors who lose their vision at a later age and they're not tech friendly and they need normalcy. They need to have things that is the law put in front so they can continue their lives because lives don't have to stop because of a disability.
Exactly. And it's amazing how that work also ties in with the work of AARP and vice versa. As you know, having been a volunteer for AARP, we are at our very heart an advocacy organization. We look to change policy so that we can make the communities in which we exist, which we serve, more livable and enable people to live there and to live their life as they choose. And so one of the great initiatives of AARP, as you know, is the network of age-friendly states and communities. And so all across the country, we have now formally enrolled more than 400 communities and actually now more than 12 states in their entirety into this network of age-friendly states and communities, which is developed in collaboration with the World Health Organization. And this is a program for people of all ages. Many people think of AARP as a company that sells insurance and a company that's for old people. But we don't use the word old in relation to people. We look at people throughout the entire course of their life as living or being empowered to live their best possible life. And in particular, this program of AARP's network of age-friendly states and communities appeals to people of all ages, not just
Yes.
the 50 plus population, but people of all ages. And so at the beginning of his administration, Governor Bryan formally enrolled the Virgin Islands in this network of age-friendly states and communities. And by him doing so, again, we keep emphasizing it wasn't an endorsement saying that the Virgin Islands is already age-friendly and fully a livable community. No, it means that the governor has made a commitment to work toward making the territory a livable community and very age-friendly. And so again, it's just interesting how everything lines up with you now being in that role within the administration, working toward making it more age friendly, especially for those who are disabled or who are developing disabilities. So now we're bringing it all together, and in particular, you and I we're actually in the process of working on a very important initiative, and that's Bill number 33-0020. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about that wonderful bill that we're working on together and how we're developing that bill number 33-0020.
Okay, so bill number 33-0220, that's a little correction on that, is one that that both of us, it's dear to our hearts. This bill is put together to help our territory to be more having accessible beaches. Um, when we look at persons over the years and taking their loved ones to the beach, we, uh, we don't understand that struggle and how hard it is. It's not only hard taking them physically, but coordinating to get people to help you to do that task. Having accessible beaches gives persons now not just the ramps and the accessories that would help you into the water, but how do you get to that? You have to first park. You have to then go to an access house. You have to then go to a route that leads you to whether the restrooms or the concessions, or if you choose to go to the water. You need to have a free path of travel from where you park to where you want to go to enjoy yourself like everyone else. So this bill is actually giving us an opportunity to now enhance our beaches to make them more ADA compliant, and especially for AARP, for a lot of initiatives that you might be doing in the future with promoting beaches or having coordination for things to be on a beach, you can feel now freer to say, you know what, we could just go to this beach or we could go to this other beach. And it wouldn't be that we can't go there because 20 of our volunteers or is individuals in wheelchairs, so they wouldn't be able to move around. You could feel you take that burden off of your vocabulary and realize now people have choices. And I think just doing that is health therapy, mentally and physically, for our seniors. Taking something that means a lot to individuals growing up and just take it away, and they don't have access to it anymore, is one of the hardest mental things that you could do to individuals who are challenged. So this bill, and it is such a pleasure to work with AARP and bringing the understanding of us continue to work together in taking down these barriers that we have in the territory.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And for the people who have not been following this bill, what it does, again, to bring together what Julien just said, and to add a little more detail, it's on at least one beach on each island, hopefully two, to make sure that we have a ramp put in, and it's really a very neat ramp. It's a heavy, hard, very durable plastic that is anchored to the sand by pegs, so it can be installed easily and removed easily. And then at the beginning of that, there will be a concrete pad on which we can transfer somebody from a wheelchair into a beach buggy. And the beach buggy is really neat. It looks almost like a big baby stroller, right, with the three wheels,
Yes.
one in the front, two in the back, and it has armrests that are buoyant.
Yes.
So you can get the person into that beach buggy, strap them in their seat belts and leg belts so they don't fall out, and get them right into the water, and it floats. So either they can stay on it in the water, or they could get off of it in the water, and again embark upon it, and then get back out of the water, of course, with some help. They can't push it on their own. That'll be virtually impossible. But
Right.
but it's such a wonderful way to get people to the beach and into the water. And as I pointed out to you, also, Julian, and of course I don't have to remind you because you're the disabilities expert of the Virgin Islands. But many times we think of people who are disabled as people in wheelchairs, but you could be on a cane, you could be on a walker, you could be on crutches of some sort, and all of those people are disabled, right? And
Right.
so this walkway is good for any level of disability, because
Right.
I mean, imagine taking an older person who's on a cane or on a walker and try to get them into the water, trying to push a walker across the sand, but this walkway just creates such a nice, even, smooth surface, and they can get in. So it's really a wonderful, wonderful initiative.
And when you think on persons who might have had a stroke, or that's almost an impossible journey for that person to then get into the water. And like you said, you could get into the water because the back wheels are not buoyant and the handrest is buoyant. That you can relax, you could float if you used to love to float. You can just spend time in the water and really start rejuvenating that energy that you had, and it's gonna make a lot of difference. It's gonna medical claims and a lot of things that people go through because their bodies are not moving enough. This opens up a great chapter for people to now go back to what life was when we all used to go to the beach, and that was our best source of recreation. And now we're opening up those doors again for our citizens on all three islands.
Exactly. And as you mentioned before, the social isolation when people become older or become disabled and they tend to stay at home more often is really so very, very, very damaging. Research has shown, scientific research has shown that social isolation has the negative impact on the entire human body of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And
Wow.
as research also shows, one cigarette can kill. But social isolation impacts not only the emotions, the psyche of the person, but
Mhm.
impacts every organ, every system within their body. And so, again, at AARP, we're always looking for ways to break social isolation and to make sure that people are more included, that they're able to live a vibrant, active life. And so, again, having these beach ramps and knowing that we can get disabled people onto the beach and into the water so they can have fun with their offspring, with their grandchildren, with their great grandchildren is really very remarkable. So we're really pleased. And tell us, what do you think would be the timeline associated with the
So,
implementation?
right, right, and that's a great question. When we look at some of the beaches, like you were able to experience Creamer's Park and see what it was like for them to roll out the map. So what we're going to do is try and get a soft opening with some of the beaches to start the process, because as you know, going through the process with funding, you have to go through all three committees. Then you have to, it has to go to the governor, it has to come back. Then you have to start other processes with it. So what we want to do is to look at beaches that we can roll out right now and do a soft rollout. And after that, as the legislations come through on Thursday of this week, we're going to be doing, hopefully, get some cost estimates of some of our beaches here in the territory in St. Thomas. And, so when that funding is done, then we can really work on the parking to the landing. But for right now, what we want to do is to November to have our soft rollout that people could start, enjoying a little bit more, especially our seniors have been, asked to not socialize as much, or persons spend a lot of time with them because of COVID. And having this outdoor activity, it would be so great for them to, feel alive again. So we want to not hold them hostage, especially now that it's like if you're in the desert walking and you know there's water, and all of a sudden you're going for it, and and that's what we want. People, they're hearing about it. There's a lot of talk and buzz about it, and we have to get them an opportunity to start using this, and then we work on the infrastructure to bring it into compliance.
I just realized my mic was still muted. Um, living in this new virtual world, as we are since the beginning of COVID-19, we have to learn all kinds of new twists and turns.
Yes.
So, what I was going to say also for the listening and viewing audience, yes, we looked at Kramer's Park, and we will have one of those installed there, one of those ramps and beach buggies, and the transfer pad and so forth. But we also looked at Frederickstead. Unfortunately, because of the steep decline, as it were, from the normal level of the sand all the way down to the water, it'll make it
Yes.
virtually impossible to put a ramp there because you would probably lose control of the person in the beach buggy getting down to the water, and to
Right.
get that person up would be extremely difficult. So the compromise that's being discussed for Frederickstead, because they are getting ready to work in the public pool, is to make that pool completely disabled person accessible, and to put a
Yes.
lift on the side of the pool, a mechanical lift that can actually put the person down into the pool water and bring them up. And I came to learn for the first time that the pool in Frederickstead is actually filled with seawater. They're constantly, bringing in fresh seawater and pumping out the old seawater. So
Wow.
yeah, I never knew that all these years of living here, being born and growing up here. So for for people who really want that therapeutic effect of the seawater, they will experience that same thing in the pool in Frederickstead. So
Wow.
it's a great compromise to make sure that we include Frederickstead in the plans with beach access. So
Yes, and I will tell you, it was one that I never totally lived in St. Croix, but I've worked in St. Croix over periods of months, and sometimes come back to St. Down, go back to St. Croix in other jobs that I've done in the past. And I know if one thing I was nervous about is finding the perfect beach in Frederickstead, that not just to say it would be a great place for tourists, but a great, extremely great place for citizens that live here in the territory. And it seems like they use like three different parts of Frederickstead. So to really come together, and if it's more than one in Frederickstead, so be it. Even if it's not more than one initially to roll it out. We know that other agencies and nonprofit organizations might jump in and do a beach or two. So as we look at what's needed for maybe more than two beaches on each island, we definitely want to be able to find places that our locals really love to go, and the benefits of having those beaches accessible.
exactly. And now I'm going to ask you a question that's a little bit off topic, but ties in nonetheless quite well. I get talking about beach access. For those people who are disabled and have to rely on public transportation, we know that Vitran has a certain department that takes care of transporting people with disabilities, but that's very limited. Is the administration looking into expanding those services on the island? And will the people with disabilities be able to access certain beaches on Vitran? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Vitran added more vehicles to their fleet. I think one of the things that happened overnight with Vitran was COVID. That the van, the smaller vans, carries like 6 or 7 persons, and when COVID hit, it went down to 2 persons. So it created a shortage in transportation, and they end up having to cut services and do a lot of things and prioritize what was most important at a crucial time when everyone depended on that service to do everything. So that is one that is going to be addressed. This morning, I was in a meeting with the governor and others, and that was a topic that was there to see, especially for the island of St. Croix, that there are limited services to transport people with disabilities on that island. So it's something that really has to be on the forefront, and find, ways to add additional services. One of the things that happened, I think, for St. Croix is we need to get the hotels and others into compliance. If I'm a person with disabilities and I'm traveling, I'm going to research that location. And I want to know if it has transportation. I want to know if there's excursions, if the hotel is accessible, and is it an accessible bathroom. If the bathroom is out, that cancels the entire trip. So, so working with the hotels on the island of St. Croix to make sure that we're doing things not what we think is around, but what is around, or what is an accessible, wheelchair accessible room to a disabled room. They're totally different. So to really educate our hoteliers and others so we can bring a package forward, not only with transportation, but also places that people could stay on the island of St. Croix.
Excellent. Yeah, that's so important, and to put that whole package together, not only, as we said, for residents, but for visitors too. This is a very important part of our economy. So we're looking at it from that angle, and also because we want everybody to feel included and welcomed here, first and
Yes.
foremost. And so, as we're coming down to our last minute or so, can you tell us more about how the public can learn about the Office of the ADA and how it serves to create a territory that is inclusive for all people? How can they get more information?
Right. So you can always contact me on my email, which is Julian Henley. Sorry, Julian.Henley at go.vi.gov. That's Julian, that's Julien .Henley, Henley, at go.vi.gov. My contact number is 340-473-3523. And if you have questions or concerns, needs of services or other things, I have a lot of clients that I'm working with a variety of challenges that each person is facing, and each case is its own case. So that is something that we've been doing an amazing job with in the territory.
Excellent. Well, Julian, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing with us all of this wonderful information about what you're doing in your office within the Office of the Governor. And above all, thank you for all that you do for people in the Virgin Islands with disabilities.
I really appreciate having this opportunity to share with your audience, and thank you for inviting me on.
Great. Thank you. Good day.
Have a good day.